Hey, good morning, friends. How's everybody? I hope everyone is having a great Friday morning. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Alicia and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Um, I am a hairstylist. Have been a hairstylist approaching 31 years now. I'm also a scalp therapist, and I also do non-surgical hair replacements for clients with struggling with alopecia. So I wanted to come on today and just share a little bit of my story. If you've been here before, you know that I talk all things hair mainly, giving a lot of information and details about, those of us who are going through the change of menopause in that phase of life. And we're just dealing with all kinds of unexplained, unexpected hair issues. So I just wanted to come on and share a little bit of my menopause journey with my hair. It started probably in the early ages of my 40s. I think I was maybe like around 43, between 43, 45, somewhere up in there. And I noticed that my hair was just like getting extremely thin. Especially as a hairstylist, we pay attention to density, and everyone knows what their normal amount of shedding is. But for me, it was far beyond what's considered normal for me. And I had never experienced that in my life. I've never had issues with thinning or shedding or, any of that. Of course, as a hairstylist, we do the most with our hair. So, there's been some occasions where I've was doing too much with the color and, had some thinning or shedding from that and then had to build it back up. But never, anything of, more significance than that. So it was concerning, and to the point where I brought it up to my primary care physician at like my annual appointment. And she just casually said, it's probably hormonal. She suggested that I try Rogaine. So as I did a little research into Rogaine, I found out that Rogaine is basically minoxidil. And minoxidil does work for some. A lot of people have had, improvement from minoxidil, but minoxidil is also something that if you stop using it, your hair goes back to where it was when you started. So basically, you're stuck with it for lifetime. And I didn't want anything that extreme. So I was like, I'm just going to keep working on it. I'm doing everything I know to do as a hairstylist. At that time, the protein treatments, the hydration treatments, the hair mask. I mean, I'm going in full throttle, 100%, and it's not changing. It's consistently getting thinner. And I remember going to my hairstylist at the time, because at the time I was wearing like a little short pixie cut. And I would go to my stylist at that time, and I would get my hair done probably like every week or every other week. And actually I hadn't been in a while because I just didn't have time. And when I finally got back to her, the style that I wanted, she was like, your hair is not going to be full enough for this. You're going to have to add some extensions in. And not that I had an issue with adding extensions. I mean, it's hair. We do it all the time, to get whatever look we're trying to achieve. But it was the fact that I had to have it. It wasn't an option. And that had never been my situation before. My hair was always full enough and thick enough for me to do whatever it is I wanted to do. And this was the first time in life that, I was told, okay, you can't get this style with your own hair. Your hair is not full enough. And even she was like, what's going on? I've never seen your hair, because this was somebody that, had been my stylist for over 10, 15 years. So she knew my hair and the history of my hair. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So some time went by, like I said, and I kept working on it. And it just wasn't changing. So I later asked my primary care physician to refer me to a dermatologist. Um, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is no shade, no judgment. The dermatologist that I saw was a female white woman. I don't have any issues with, seeing anyone of another color or race or anything like that, but it was just the fact that she really didn't understand my hair. She didn't understand my hair care, because of course the way a black woman cares for her hair is different from the way a white woman cares for her hair. We have different needs. Our hair thrives on moisture. Their hair repels moisture. So it's just different. And she just really didn't understand that. So, she told me, explained to her what was going on with my hair. By that time, I had a thinning spot that was going to balding. And she recommended a topical solution. And she also recommended something a little more invasive, which was the steroid shots. And at this point, I was at my wit's end. And I had tried everything that I knew to try. So I was like, okay, let's go extreme, because, it's getting to the point where it's starting to bald. You can see right through to my scalp, and I'm not okay with that. So let's go in 100%. So I agreed to do the shots, which were very invasive. And at first, initially, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I don't know, it just wasn't as bad as I thought it may be. It was, it was invasive, but it wasn't something that I couldn't handle. And I probably have a little higher tolerance for pain than, most, but it was okay. And the schedule was you had to come back, I think, like once a month and get them done. So I continued with that for like a couple of months, and really didn't see much of a change. And it was just getting a little too invasive for me. So I was like, okay, done with that. Of course, she also told me to include like the minoxidil topical, which I was doing, and still just wasn't seeing a major difference. Now, during this time, I also found out that my iron was extremely low. So, I was on an iron supplement during this period as well, because I'm sure that had a great deal to do with, my hair thinning as well. And of course, I didn't know that during menopause, your body loses iron automatically sometimes for a lot of women. And that's what was happening to me. But I felt fine. So I didn't notice anything until they did my lab work. So that's why I always, encourage you ladies to first start with lab work, so you can see what's going on with your body. Because a lot of times things are happening that you're not even aware of, because you feel fine and you won't know unless you actually get some lab work. So I was already on an iron supplement, and I did the shots for a couple months. And after that, I was like, okay, yeah, that's too much. And then I was still doing topical minoxidil during the time as well. And really wasn't seeing a whole lot of difference, a little, but not as much or as quickly as I wanted. So over time, it just continued to thin, and some areas even turned into alopecia patches. And she diagnosed me as having alopecia. I forget which one she said at that time. But I'll fill it in for you guys later. But anyway, of course, the first thing they do is ask you, are you getting relaxers? Are you wearing braids? And I hadn't, at this point, I had stopped getting relaxers, because I thought, whatever's going on, a chemical is probably going to, exaggerate the situation. So I had stopped getting relaxers. It had probably at least been 6 or more months, when I saw her. And sometimes I feel like they automatically use that as a scapegoat. Like everything is always the chemical or it's braids. But I don't necessarily believe that, because I have clients who are well in their 60s and 70s, and they've had relaxers since they were teenagers, and they still have a full thick head of hair. So I don't buy that in every situation, but of course, everyone's body is different. But I just hate when I feel like sometimes they just always use that as a scapegoat. It's almost like they're hoping you're going to say, yes, I do have a relaxer, so they can say, that's it, that's the problem, stop getting chemicals. But this is even happening to women who are all natural and not don't have any chemicals in their hair. They're still experiencing hair thinning, so it can't just be that. But I feel like nobody is either taking the time to dig further and figure out, what's happening. But we know now that menopause is a big part of it. And the thing is, when I was coming up, I lost my mother very young. I was only like 21. So that was nowhere on my mind, and I'm sure it wasn't hers either. So we never had that conversation. Plus, back then, women weren't talking about this. It was just, they knew they were going to go through the change, and they went through it silently, and I just feel like it's now time to talk about it, to discuss it, so we can kind of just share views and realize that a lot of us are more alike than we're different, whether we're white, black, blue, or green. A lot of us are all experiencing the same thing. And if we kind of talk about it more and share our experiences, then we can kind of help each other and educate each other. And that was one of the reasons why I just started, this journey and campaigning to share, information and everything that I know and everything that I'm learning about menopause and how it affects your hair, because, we need to know. I was blindsided, and I'm determined not to have that happen to my daughter. I want her to know what's going on, to have the information, have the facts. So when she starts seeing signs, she can jump on it right away. So I'm going to continue to keep coming and sharing as much information as possible, not only with my family and friends and clients, but with all of you too, because my motto, you my girl, and I got you. But getting back to the story, like I said, it just continued to advance, and it turned into alopecia spots in certain places. And, at that time, I think she was saying, well, it may not come back. But, she recommended some things that I could try. And I can tell you that I increased my iron beyond what my doctor advised, and I started doing red light therapy. And I did begin to see some hair filling in. But you know how we do. We get complacent, and we get tired of doing it, and we stop, or we start backing off. And that's what I did at some point. And then it continued to advance once again. So, basically at this point, I'm kind of left with a few alopecia spots. And my hair overall is nowhere near as thick as it used to be. But it's still there, and I'm still working on it, still trying to improve things. I continue to do lab work, with my primary care physician, so I can know what's going on with my body. That's one of the most important parts. I can't emphasize that enough to you all, to make sure that you are talking with your doctors, letting them know what's going on. And it's great to talk to gynecologists who have some experience, with like hormone therapy, who are knowledgeable in this area, because a lot of times just your primary care physician, they're only going to know like surface level things about this. You may have to go to a specialist or see a dermatologist to get more information. But I'm still in the struggle, y'all. I'm still trying, still working on it. Still trying to learn as much as I can about it, so I can bring the information to you, educate as many women as I can. And right now I'm doing collagen, because that's one of the things that I also learned that we lose naturally in the menopause phase. And a lot of these things you need to try and supplement, so you can get your body on some level of balance as best you can. So I do a collagen supplement, and I have noticed a small difference with the collagen. I do a marine collagen, and it's a powder, and I put it in my smoothie every morning. And I'm doing, I don't do iron all the time because, as you know, iron does cause constipation. So even and when you're on iron supplements, you do need to just like flood your body with water so you can keep everything moving smoothly, you know, and green leafy vegetables. But sometimes even with that, you know, things still move a little slow. So, you know, just be cautious when you're on the iron. That's not something you want to stay on long term if you don't have to. So I generally take a break from that for a while, but I'm probably going to jump back on it again. Because like I said, I did notice a difference during that time. So the collagen has helped. Iron supplements, potassium. That was one of the things that I found out. I didn't even know my potassium was low at the time. My hair was just shedding even more than normal. And I told my doctor about it, and she did lab work, of course, and told me, okay, your potassium is low for one thing. And then when I researched low potassium levels, what it does to your body, found out that guess what? It causes thinning hair. So had to get on a potassium supplement. And it's just a constant juggle. So, you know, I understand it's frustrating. I'm frustrated too. But we got to do what we got to do. You know, I'm at this point, I'll do whatever it takes to try and at least keep my hair healthy. I know it'll probably never be as full as it was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s before menopause brought her little raggedy self around. But if I can just get it, you know, just to be healthy, strong, then I'm good with that. You know, you have to take what you can get. You know, it's not, you're not going to get back what you had in 20s, and you have to accept and embrace that where it is. And find a style that works for you. Find a stylist that is knowledgeable with the whole hormonal situation and knows how to help you and how to help you find styles that can accommodate what your body or what your hair is going through right now in this phase of life. Okay. But it is possible. You do have options. Trust me, I have done women who are almost completely bald and they walked out with a cute short pixie cut that they loved. You know, if you check out some of my previous videos, I believe I have one on here of one of my first alopecia clients years ago. And so you can pretty much have almost any style you want, you know, if you have the funds and the availability to do it. And even if you don't want to go that route, you know, there's still so many options and there's so much more to learn. I hope that this information was helpful to you all. I wanted to just share my journey and let you know that you're not alone. I'm struggling through it too, but I'm going to keep coming with more information as much as I can. I am working on an ebook that I will be releasing soon. And I'm telling you, I have packed as much information in here as I can for you ladies. I've given you resources, tips, hacks, product resource list. I mean, I'm bringing it to you as much as I can. So look for that. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe on this video. Make sure you hit the notification bell. I'll be dropping a free checklist soon of things that you need to know if you're going through menopause. Make sure that you hit the link for that so that you can get on the list. And when I drop the ebook soon, you will be able to have first access to it. But I'm telling you, it's going to be good, and it's going to be necessary if you're going through menopause, if you're approaching menopause. Even if you've been in menopause for some years, I'm sure you'll learn some things that you probably did not know. So anyway, I got to get to work. But it was great, you know, talking to you guys and sharing with you guys, and share your story too. Let me know what's going on. Maybe I can, you know, shoot you some helpful information. You never know. Or someone else, you know, in the subscribers can help you with some information. But until next time, take care, and I will see you soon.